A Guide to Active Learning at School and Home, Part 1, brought to you by the NGHS Psychology Department.
This video and the ones to follow are designed to fill you in on the work we have been doing at school using the most up-to-date psychological research to enhance the quality of your daughter's learning. It is specifically aimed at you as parents and caregivers to allow you to play an active and informed role in supporting your daughter. We are, after all, on the same team when it comes to allowing her to become the happiest and most fulfilled person she has the potential to become by nurturing, guiding, inspiring and challenging her. At school, we have been adapting teaching according to the principles of the Master Model, a model aimed at encouraging active learning. As teachers, we're constantly up against the fact that human brains are hardwired to be lazy. The brain has two modes for information processing, a fast one which is automatic, emotional and intuitive, and a slow one which is effortful, logical and analytical. Unfortunately for us, the ratio in which these two modes are used is unfavourable to us. Students can't be allowed to think of themselves as empty vessels waiting for us to fill them up, as this isn't conducive to long-lasting learning. Instead, the mind is a fire to be kindled, and the Master Model is a way of lighting the blue touch paper, allowing us as educators to stand back and watch what we have set in motion begin to take on a life of its own. The M of the Master Model stands for motivation. As I alluded to, the brain isn't designed for thinking if it can get away with it. That's why we store information about things we do repeatedly in long-term memory to allow us to act automatically in the future when similar situations occur. However, despite being programmed to seek shortcuts, we can and do enjoy thinking under the correct conditions. So let's look at the what, how and why surrounding the concept of motivation. A classic model of what motivates us is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The lowest unsatisfied need becomes the dominant or the most powerful and significant need, which activates an individual to fulfill it. Individuals will only pursue higher needs when lower needs are fulfilled, until a state of self-actualization is reached. For us as adults, it is important to be aware of potential blocks to girls fulfilling this innate potential. Has she slept properly, eaten breakfast, or is she worried about a comment she has received on social media? Any of these things can affect her from being able to concentrate on more academic matters. In terms of how we are motivated, the feeling of enjoyment is created by the release of dopamine in the reward system of the brain. There are plenty of behaviours which humans do compulsively because of the quick fix of dopamine that it gives us. Eating sugar, getting a dose of caffeine, nicotine or other addictive drugs. Social media apps have been designed by neuroscientists to be addictive by stimulating dopamine release with a continuous feed of new information and likes. With schoolwork, it's harder to stay motivated because the dopamine release you're waiting for may be months in the future on results day when you see that you've got the grade you wanted, or even years away if you're working towards a particular career. Teenagers' brains may be especially vulnerable to being tempted by quick dopamine fixes, as it's more difficult for them to delay getting immediate gratification for the sake of future goals. You can do a lot at home to co-opt the brain's reward system by encouraging your daughter to develop a discipline in her work practices, such as rewarding herself with a break or treat when she has completed X hours or X number of tasks. What should never happen is that she gets into bad habits of rewarding herself when in a state of procrastination or feeling bored. It increases the chance of it happening more regularly. For example, if she allows herself to watch an episode of her current Netflix show before she starts her work, or goes for a snack when she loses concentration, she will teach her brain that switching off gets rewarded. Encouraging revising through games such as Quizlet or Kahoot, or setting targets which she is able to tick off, provides its own dopamine release to keep motivation levels high over long periods of time. And don't underestimate the enjoyment your daughter will gain in you taking an active role in testing her on the content she is revising. Your undivided attention is hugely reinforcing no matter how old she gets or how reluctant she may pretend to be. Lastly, let's consider why we become motivated. Extrinsic motivations are factors that completing a task will result in, whereas intrinsic motivations are things in and of tasks themselves. Many parents feel they are helping their child by offering monetary rewards for achieving particular grades, but research suggests that it may produce undesirable long-term effects. Although extrinsic motivations, when properly used, are important to producing positive educational outcomes, relying purely on such extrinsic rewards essentially leads to short-term thinking, snuffing out intrinsic motivation, diminishing performance, crushing creativity, and encouraging cheating, shortcuts, and unethical behaviour. More intrinsic goals are positively related to more enduring learning, achievement, and perceived competence, and they reduce anxiety. It's a lovely quirk of the brain that a state of curiosity is intrinsically reinforcing, providing its own release of dopamine. So reinforce your daughter's curiosity. Isidore Rabi, winner of a Nobel Prize for Physics, was once asked why he became a scientist. He replied, "My mother made me a scientist without ever knowing it." Every other child would come back from school and be asked, "What did you learn today?" My mother used to say, "Izzy, did you ask a good question today?" And that made the difference. Asking good questions made me into a scientist. So it's clear, a girl who loves learning for its own sake is going to make a far more contented and successful learner. Thank you for watching, and please watch out for future videos in which I'll outline the rest of the master model and how we can work together to implement it.